All right, welcome to the Max Effort Kitchen podcast. We have a fantastic Eat Well, Live Well show for us today. Co-host Sarah, how you doing today, Sarah?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
Excellent.
A lovely Saturday.
I gotta say, I love your background. Like it's just so bright and like creative.
This is my art room, so
it's fantastic.
Colorful textures, all kinds of craft materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really important to, and this is an interesting thing because I'm not surrounded by bright colors, but like having bright colors in your life or in your home, like it just makes your mood better. I don't know. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes, that's why I surround myself with it. I feel like my happiest self is when I'm wearing colorful clothes and I have bright spaces and colors around me. So
yeah. And like, okay, so just a little jump into my personal, like a personal-ish life. We are looking for a home, and I know you guys are kind of in the same way, same position. We're looking to buy a home here probably within the next year, so we're doing a very slow process.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things we were talking last night, we're going to go tour a house today, and
Cool.
one of the things about it was the windows. I
Yes.
love big windows. I want all the sunlight, right?
Yes.
And it's funny because Alana's like, yeah, that's really cool, but who's going to clean those? she's like, I'm 5'2". How's this going to happen?
You.
Yeah. So that's me. But having lots of windows, even in the Northwest where it's gray 9 months out of the year, it still makes a huge difference in your mood. I don't know.
I totally agree. I mean, it's an overcast day and I feel like I'm still getting a good amount of natural light right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's good stuff. Well, I kind of talked to you a little bit in the pre-show. I want to get kind of an idea of how everything's going in the wellness industry and how you're doing. I know that you have a handful of clients and how's all that going?
Yeah, so I feel like in my early stages.
Yep.
So I have 3 clients that I'm working with, and they all have different things that they're trying to do. So
Cool.
one of them is trying to put on muscle exclusively. They don't really care about the other numbers. They just want to perform better in cycling and feel stronger.
Cool.
Another one is trying to lose a good amount of weight. She's wanting to lose about 60 pounds total, but we're breaking it into like chunks. And then my other client is doing kind of a recomposition of losing a little bit of fat, but putting a lot of muscle. So
and so that's kind of fun because that's like you're getting all ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this, as far as like your organization, how do you compose that? Like, because you got, I mean, is it just like, for me, okay, let me back up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm very, very analytical and I compartmentalize things. And so everything has its own book. Like this is my podcast book, right?
Yes. Okay.
I have a Bills book. That's kind of how I organize my stuff. So are you kind of similar in that fashion? Do you develop profiles for people? Like how do you stay connected like that?
I have a journal as well.
Okay.
And so I currently am like putting in entries for each one, and before I meet with them, I write down things I want to ask them about, how their week is going, or their month is going since I've last talked to them. And then we do like our stats. So they'll weigh in usually, or whatever metric they're using for measuring their success, and we'll then talk about that. So I keep track of their measurements and however we are measuring them. So I kind of can look back at our little diary entries, like, okay, I asked these questions and these were their answers. This is where they were. I probably should get a spreadsheet. I don't know. I started one for one of my clients because they're very into the numbers. So they sent me lots of data points, which I love.
Yes.
So I have a journal just like you, compartmentalized that way.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of like that because I think, and this is personally speaking, if I had a coach of that sense, like, and even in weightlifting, when I have weightlifting coaches, I I really look for that like kind of personal connection. And I think you can get a lot of good stuff from a spreadsheet. But like when you're taking notes and having conversation, like your note taking down to what you're writing versus what you're putting in a spreadsheet is widely different, right? There's more of a connection, the human element to it. You're putting your own words to it. You're not putting in an equation. So I think that's a really neat thing that you do is having that, because it allows you to connect with people a lot better. And it's not like you're jumping on a call and you're like, hey, remind me what we talked about, like, or you kind of like, I've had coaches that literally I'm feeling like I'm a new athlete to them every time we talk on the phone. And I'm like, and that's really disheartening. And it's like, I got to remind them of things that we talked about before. And so that's a really neat element. And I think, I don't think it's the standard. I think that's something unique to what you're doing, and that's great.
Oh, thanks. No, yeah, I feel like just me as a person, I'm very like community and connection. So I feel it's super important for people to feel seen and heard and remembered, and people look for that in general, just as a human being, like to be remembered and wanted and liked and like all these things. So like what better way to show someone that you care for them than remembering? So,
Isn't that the truth? Oh man. And I'm I don't know if you follow the astrology. That's what I'm looking for. But I'm a Cancer and I'm a middle child. And so like I kind of always want to be recognized or loved or whatever you want to call it, but I always want that attention. And that's just part of who I am. And so I as an athlete, as somebody who's, in the world of food, like I want to be able to have conversations like that where things are remembered. And I get, so that's a really neat aspect. And anybody listening out there, like understand that what she's doing is connecting with her people, and that connection creates a better result. It's part of the equation to me, don't you think?
I agree. Say in going into this, like I wanted to be very involved in people's journey because it's so new to many people about these different changes, and having a friend and a person who's holding you accountable and all these things, not just like, here's the info, good luck.
Have fun. I'll check in with you 6 months later. Totally.
Let me know how that goes. So I do like mixing in, and I feel like making small checkpoints for people, and it's not a one size fits all for everybody. And
correct.
Like that keeps me on my toes, which I like.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you just said there. It's not a one size fits all. Everybody is different. And that's such a big thing in what you're doing, because and I'll back up, I've been a coach. I've coached many different people, and I will say that one of my favorite realm of coaching, which I did for probably 5 years, was that I coached kids with special needs, and I coached them in the weight room. And one of the things I really found out was they're not really interested in lifting weights. They're not interested in doing cardio. But like what it would be was we would have a very routine set. So we're going to this station, we're going to this station, we're going to this station. But through the entirety of the session, it was like, we're talking about cars. We're talking about, school, or like things that they did on their weekend, going to the mountain. And what they got out of that human connection, when it was paired with some sort of, exercise or exertion of energy, was astronomical. Like and most of them, most of them are high school students, and they've kind of graduated and since went on with their lives. And I miss it. It's like that. It's like, not only did they get a connection, but I was like, really, I loved meeting with John on Tuesdays, because he would tell me about all the new things with his new car that he just saved up for. And it was just such a really wholesome experience of walking away being like, this is we get into this industry to make a difference. Right.
Yep. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
when it's when it's tangible, when you see it, you're like, oh my, like boom,
Yes.
goosebumps
Exactly.
automatically.
Yes. It's
So yeah,
it made me think Damon tried swimming for the first time, like
I
flat
heard.
swimming. Yes. And I was so excited, like literally like jumped on,
Yep.
because when he
Yep.
finally got all the things in line, it looked so good and he'd been working so hard and I felt so excited for him and like teaching him these little moments of like different things of how to swim that way, right? I don't know.
Awesome.
I feel like I'm the cheerleader. I can't contain myself sometimes.
Yes. You're spreading knowledge, right? So it's
Yeah.
like it's this idea that like, wow, somebody can benefit from what the things that I'm telling them. And that I think that's just at the basic level, but
Yeah.
it's a really neat thing. And anybody out there that's listening to this or watching it, later, like, we'll have ways to get a hold of Sarah, but like I highly recommend you to give her a call if you're looking to reach some goals,
Yeah.
because what we just talked about, that human element, that connection, that makes a huge difference. So
I'd love that. I hope I get some new friends and clients
yes,
from this. Yeah.
yes, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of work into talking about a little bit of fiber stuff, and then that'll be a good segue into fermentation and the benefits of that. So I want you to kind of give. Well, let me spark you with a little bit of a question, because I've had this question popping around in my head, believe it or not, because I have a coworker that is like determined to get as much fiber into him as possible.
Okay.
And in my uneducated opinion, I look at that as like, maybe you're overdoing it, because not only are you putting a lot of fiber in you, and supplemented fiber, but like you're in the bathroom like 4 or 5 times a day. So let's talk about this. So let me ask you a question. Is supplemented fiber necessary? Meaning, do we have to take fiber pills in order to get the fiber we need?
My answer is no, but most Americans' diets do not get enough.
Okay.
And so the part of me that wants you to be healthy is fine, take that supplement, because we want our system to be releasing our toxins. And so
Yeah.
if you are not making bowel movements once or twice a day, your toxins are staying inside of you.
Yeah.
So
Which is bad. Yeah.
Which is bad. Yeah. So I'm not against the like fiber supplements, if it's really hard for you to eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains.
Right.
But
So
I
what
would
if you are
prefer
eating
eat
it?
actually. What if you are eating it?
Do
Well,
you still need to take a fiber pill?
no, I don't think so.
It's a little overkill, right?
It is. It
Okay.
is. There's too much fiber. I mean, it has its jobs in the body, and if too much of anything is going to be harmful. So
Yeah.
maybe it'll make you more constipated, or it'll make the food run through you faster.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely a happy medium, the balance of life.
I agree. And I'm big, like, I think it's good to always, like, and I talk about this on other shows, is getting your protein, getting your nutrients, getting your fiber, getting anything your body needs to perform on a daily basis through whole food. And we've talked about this before, but at the same point, like, it's good to reiterate it, because I think there's too many products out there and that are easily accessible for us to just say, you know what, I'm not going to eat fruit and vegetables. I'm going to take a fiber pill. And without doing the research on the company that's producing that fiber pill, what they're actually putting in it, and having reputable nutrients that you're putting in your body, like nothing's more reputable than, the food that we can grow, or the food, the whole food. Now, we have had this conversation about industrialization and what that's done to food. But again, I think that if we're on a path or a mission to be healthy, optimized, performed, and living well, you have to do your research.
Yeah. And two notes that just popped in on that. Supplements aren't regulated how people may think. The companies can make all kinds of claims, and they do not have to actually do them.
Right.
And they don't necessarily have all the things in them that you would think, or they have very small amounts that aren't going to be effective enough. So like supplements can be good, but there's a lot of crappy ones out there that are
Oh,
just taking your dollars.
well,
So,
you make
yeah.
a good point, and we see this a lot in the athletic industry, the pre-workouts, the
Yeah.
protein shakes. Like literally, they are not FDA approved. They are made, they are put on the shelves until the FDA finds out about them and pulls them off. Because what they're doing is they're trying to push products without getting them regulated. And like
Mhm.
I can speak from experience, and I've tried all kinds of different ones, and I've tried ones that aren't FDA approved, and there's some weird stuff that goes on there. Like
Mhm.
I just had one not too long ago, and I was actually telling Damon this. So like every time I took I put a scoop in water, I hit, just mix it up, drink it before my workout. I'm getting angry. And I don't know where this anger is
Ooh,
coming from. And
yeah.
it's intense anger. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe
Mm.
that's cool in the weight room, but like I lift in my garage and my family's in and out. And I'm like, I cannot be, I can't be like this. And so
Rage.
I dumped that stuff. And I'm reading the bottle and it says not FDA regulated. And so like just like what Sarah said, like there's very little regulation on what's happening in these industries, and they can put stuff in it, get it on the shelves, and then it will get pulled. So, longevity of a product probably shows some good regulation, I would say.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're really good at dodging the regulation. But are there any products out there that like you can recommend or that you have had success with or anything like that in the fiber?
In the fiber realm, no, I don't do those.
Good
I
work.
eat food.
I eat food. That's the quote of the day. I love it. I eat food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say other things people can look for when looking for supplements is third party tested. Like
Okay.
the government is not regulating it, but there are companies that will test the supplements and their claims to a certain extent. So that is something that I look for when I'm looking to start a different supplement. So
I like that.
yeah.
I've never even thought of that third party testing. That
Mhm.
makes sense. In any industry, third party testing, you're taking the bias out of it. So and that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, I believe they test your ingredient list, what you
Okay.
claim and what is
Mhm.
in it, and like the macronutrient levels. I
Yeah.
don't think they're testing like, you know, their claims of this will help you
Yeah.
have more bowel movements. This will help you
Correct.
have X amount of energy. It's more like the ingredients that they list are actually what's in it and there's nothing else added.
And
Or
that's a really good
yeah,
clarification, because I think
yeah,
people could take the testing as in, does it work? Well, no, that's
right.
not what they're testing. They're testing if it's going to be good in your body.
Yeah.
And the ingredients
And they're
that they
being
say,
honest.
and they're being
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a really big thing. Now, and when it comes to fiber, you alluded to fruits, grains, stuff like that.
Mhm.
If let's just hypothetically say I am deficient on fiber.
Yeah.
What's kind of the first notch or the first level of what you would tell me to do
I would say aim to add a fruit or vegetable to every meal.
to every meal?
Every
Solid.
meal.
Okay.
Yes. So the way fiber works is your body has to acclimate to it. So if you don't eat fiber and then you just go gung ho, your system's going to go into chaos.
Yeah.
So I would say slowly mixing it in would be
Hmm.
the way to go. I especially say that if you're trying to add in legumes. Legumes are great. They are so high in fiber,
Yes.
but it will cause distress. And
Hmm.
part of that is the microbes that are on it help your gut to produce the enzymes to digest it. So if you don't eat it
Ah,
regularly, you're going to flood the system with this material that we don't have the enzymes to break down. What do? It's going to ferment and make all kinds of noxious fumes and be
hey,
painful to
get
process.
that.
Yes. So if you add like a tablespoon of some kind of legume to your salad or your soup or I don't know, your dish, and do
Hmm.
that over a time period, you're going to create the right kind of population of microbiome and enzymes in your stomach to break it down.
What's your favorite? That's first of all, that was really, really, really well said, and some great information. What's your favorite legume to add to stuff?
I'm a big fan of lentils. I think
Lentils.
they, yeah,
I
uh-huh.
like it. I
You
like it.
can puree them and they can add like
Hmm.
a thickening agent to soups. I like them on their own as like a lentil soup.
Yes.
I don't put them on a salad or anything, so it's mostly in a soup
Yeah.
form or like a curry kind of dish. Yeah.
I used to have a buddy that, and this was, oh wow, almost 20 years ago. His dad would salt and roast legumes,
Mm,
and it was a bit of a process. He would soak them first, let them sit out overnight in the refrigerator. So when you
mhm,
when you put food, like say when you put food uncovered in the refrigerator, what happens is that refrigerator is cycling air. It's pushing out the hot air and it's pushing in cold air. So it's
mm,
constant cycle. So what
mhm.
it does is it almost dehydrates food.
Ah, yeah,
And
that
so,
makes sense.
like
Yeah.
for instance, when you're going to smoke, like if I want to do like some smoked sausages, I would cook the sausages. I'd like put them, maybe cook them in a liquid, and then I'd put them in the refrigerator uncovered overnight because it would become really tacky. And so when you smoke them,
Mm,
the smoke would adhere to it. Okay. So,
ah,
anyways, with the lentils, he would boil them, or I mean, sorry, soak them, lay them out on a sheet pan, put them in the refrigerator overnight, pull them out, and then salt them and roast them.
mhm,
And he would literally have like a bag of these roasted lentils. And they were like, I just remember like the nutty flavor and just
mhm.
like you're eating them like sunflower seeds almost. Like you're
Oh,
just
yeah.
popping in your
Yeah.
mouth. Really, really, really good. Or like pumpkin seeds. I
Mm.
I mean, we're coming up on fall. Pumpkin seeds is like one of my favorite things in the
Mm.
world. I don't know I
Mhm.
don't think that's a legume, but at the same point, like that's kind of the form that they took was like this ultra like salty little nugget of just like really good stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
People do that with chickpeas too. They'll
yeah,
roast them and season
oh,
them in all
yeah.
kinds of ways.
One of my favorite ways to do chickpeas is deep fry, and I know that's like
Oh, I've never
probably not the
had.
healthiest, but deep fry 'em, and what they do is they almost act as in corn. They pop, and they get these really crunchy area outsides.
Really?
They're so
Oh,
good on a salad. You
okay.
can kind of achieve it in an air fryer or at a really high temperature in an oven.
Mhm.
But you got to make sure they're super dry before you do that. But highly recommended if you haven't done it. Salt them, just roast the heck out of them, and over top of a salad. Oh, it's my favorite way to eat them. I mean, I
Mm.
like hummus too, but yeah,
Yes.
all the
Yes.
foods. Well, you said something about fermentation, and I kind of wanted to go into that a little bit. Now, this is kind of a segue into the idea of why we eat fermented food, and
Mhm.
it's exactly what you just said. Like, because fermentation is it's how do I put this in the most easily understandable way?
Mhm.
It's the conversion of food components through the enzyme action. And so, what that means in the most layman terms is it's taking sugars and it's breaking them down into gases. And
Mhm.
what that does is it preserves the food. So, like, let's think about like sourdough bread. This is through yeast. So, yeast is going in there, they're releasing a bunch of CO2. And that CO2 is actually fermenting the strains of the flour or of the grain.
Mhm.
And so it's creating this flavorful bread. And it's creating a bread that we can keep around for a good amount of time, or even the starter. There's 100-year starters out there, right? And so what
Yeah.
that is that's a fermented dough. And when we get into fermentation, what we're doing is we're making stuff that's good for our gut biome because
Mhm.
of the way the enzymes are already broken down. And
Mhm.
so it takes less energy to digest it. And it actually acts as, this is a little bit far to say, and this is probably my own opinion, but I've always felt that it acts as like a cleansing product.
Yeah, it's a
I mean,
probiotic of
it's
sorts.
a, it's a probiotic, and
Yeah.
so like kombucha, let's say kombucha.
Yeah.
good gut health. It's fermented tea, and it's for me when I drink it, I feel cleaned out after a couple days, and that's good,
Yeah.
and that maybe that's a sign that I need to enter or, put more fiber into my body. Maybe that's a sign that I need to, regulate my system with a little bit more fermentation so that it knows how to act instead of like you said, if you just go full bore and shock your system, your body's going to be like, whoa, bro.
Yeah. We don't know what to do with this.
Yeah. What are you doing? We're getting this out of us.
Yeah.
And so the idea there's 5 elements of fermentation. Okay. So it's to enrich, it's to preserve, it's to eliminate, it's to create. Oh, this is create proteins, and I'll kind of go into that, but and then it's to reduce cook time. Those are the 5 elements of fermentation. And the cook time is a funny thing, because you can do like a quick pickle on things, or it's the idea of ceviche, right? You're cooking it through the acidic enzymes of lemon juice or some sort of high acidic thing. And the create alternative products. And now this is one that I'm not super educated on because it's fairly new, but creating protein through fermentation they do that with soybean. And that's how you get what is the name of that stuff?
The tempeh?
Tempeh, yes.
Yeah.
That's how you get tempeh. And that's a protein. What it does is it enhances. And again, I'm not super knowledgeable on this, so I don't want to overspeak, but through the fermentation, the enzymes actually enhance the protein and they change the molecule of the protein. So it's a different style of protein, and that's about as far as I got on that. So, but I'm gonna definitely do more research, and maybe we'll talk about it next time.
There you go.
Eliminate. It eliminates the anti-nutrients, and so and I think what that means is it regulates your gut biome. It gets rid of the stuff, like you were saying. It gets rid of all that stuff. Enriches flavor. That's what I was talking about, the sourdough. And then the oldest reason why we fermentate or use fermentation is to preserve.
Yeah.
It was built as a preservation technique. And go ahead.
Our bodies evolved eating those.
Correct.
So, now that we're not, that's also part of our lack of biodiversity in our microbiome, is because that's how we survive through winters, is pickling and preserving all these things. And so we would get them every year and replenish the system.
Exactly.
That's kind of an interesting, I feel like, tidbit. So something I've heard lately is that you should be trying to add a pickled, fermented food to your meals, like if you can every meal, but like at least daily, some sort of pickled something.
I really like that.
Fermented.
Fermented. Yeah. And that's a really good suggestion. Now, before we go any further, I know that you are on a bit of a time crunch. It is 11 o'clock or 11:03.
Okay.
You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We got about, 15 more minutes. Is that good?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So adding a ferment, something pickled, something fermented to your diet every day. I would say the quickest way is a pickle, right? Kombucha. Yogurt.
Really easy one.
The easiest one ever, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I would say about yogurt, which is interesting, because I've always been a bit of a sweet tooth, and so I go for those ultra sugary ones that I'm like, oh, those are so good. Or they'll have it like in a glass container, and I'm like, ooh, I want that glass container.
Yeah, I know. I do the same thing. That's the cute container I want.
Yeah. I'm gonna get that just for the container. But also Greek yogurt is by far the best thing. Something I've started adding to my weekly diet, and I say weekly because I don't do it daily, but it's yogurt, it's frozen fruit, a little bit of honey, and then I take some granola and throw it over top. And it's like, I would say it's probably about maybe a cup of yogurt. So I'm not like doing a giant bowl of parfait or anything, but it's something that is actually, I can feel my body feeling better when I eat this in the morning. And, I noticed it probably about a year or two ago that my morning habits were really based around sugar. And so I've tried to break the sugar out of my morning habits. And this has helped. You know, I grew up eating the sugary cereals. I grew up eating
Same.
like,
Yep.
yeah. And it was just like, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm super nostalgic. Like I love nostalgia. And so like waking up on a Saturday morning eating freaking Lucky Charms,
Yes, that was
not
my
a good
cereal
thing,
choice.
right?
Yeah.
Not a great thing to do for your health and if you're trying to be
No.
performance and all that. But the nostalgia that goes with that is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't
Every
know.
once in a while, just indulge. I feel like the balance of
Yes.
life. Don't eat the whole box, maybe, but like,
Correct.
yeah, I'm gonna have that moment where I just feel like I'm a fifth grader on a Saturday morning again.
Exactly. And that again, you're dropping really cool lines here, and I like it because what you just said was balance, and you know
Mhm.
it's really easy to go one side or the other, and we got to enjoy the things of life, but
Yeah.
we also have to be very cognitive of how we live, and
Mhm.
that can be challenging for people. So
Yeah.
I guess in your best explanation, like, you know, how do you create balance? Like if you got a client that's like you can
Mhm.
see is really far on one side,
Mhm.
like, you know, how do you bring them back? Is it slowly? Is it fast? Is it like what would your tactic be?
I'm a slow, I feel like mix in kind of person because you can try habit stacking,
Mm,
which is a good tactic for change. But if you are very on one side of like ultra processed diet, it's going to be hard to try and add in a vegetable to each meal on its own, let
I
alone
agree.
thinking about your fermented foods and your protein levels and all of these things. So I'm very much like baby steps
Okay.
kind of person. But
Okay.
yeah,
And that's
stay.
good. I think, you know, anytime I've ever given anybody any helpful advice, you know, my thing is always like 1% at a time. Like you're going to
Mhm.
make a change in life. You can't do the ground and pound, right? You can't walk
No.
in and just be like, we're doing this, you know, because
Yeah.
I would say the majority says that you're going to fail in that situation because it's too
Yeah.
shocking to the system.
Yeah.
Um,
And I would say 80% of the time. That's another thing is like consistency
like
is
that.
really important,
Yeah.
but consistency looks different than maybe what most people would think. They're thinking, I have to be on my game every single day.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, consistency is you're on your game for most of the week, and maybe one day you kind of go off. The important part is the next day you're back on the train. And then, maybe another day down the week you have a couple extra beers with your friends. And so maybe that's maybe not your ideal diet. That's
Right.
okay. It's
Right.
balancing out throughout the week to be like an 80-20.
I like that, the 80-20 thing. That's something I vaguely remember learning, but it's really good advice because it's overwhelming, right? Like if you go full bore 100%, again, it's overwhelming, you know? And um, I think that I struggle with this in my personal brain. I guess you can say is that I want to be 100% all the time. I want
Right.
like that's something I've always prided myself on is this ultra consistent. Like don't ever break the routine. You got this. You can do it no matter how hard it gets.
Yeah.
Well, as I'm getting older in age and evolving as a person, I'm realizing that it's okay to not do 100% at everything. You
Yeah.
know, and a good example is like yesterday, right? Okay, so I am very consistent on the platform lifting weights. I am a solid 4 days a week. I get my hour and a half in, and it happens. I prided myself on it. But yesterday I walked out here, and I was like, I really don't feel like it. I had a long week. Really don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like it. I lifted the bar up a couple times, and you know the kids were out here kind of hanging out. We're talking about what we're gonna do, and Alana comes out, and I was just like, you know what, guys, I'm done. I take all my stuff off, and it was okay. And I
Mm-hmm.
like walked away from it, and I felt
Mm-hmm.
okay, and I'm still not like worried about it. So
Yeah.
it's moments like that where you can just tell yourself, hey, you know what? I ate a donut yesterday for breakfast. Probably not the best, but I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do what I'm supposed to be doing today. Like
Yeah.
That's okay.
exactly.
Give yourself
And
some compassion.
yeah, and be flexible. I feel like we also get caught up in like this is bad and this is good, and if I do the bad, then I am bad. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like everything's more gray. You're like, I mean, I don't want someone to have a diet full of ultra processed food. To me, those are bad. But
Right.
like mixing in, I don't know, like occasional thing just to
Mhm.
make your soul happy a little bit is a human experience, and that's all we're here for, right? So
Correct. And that's a really good way of putting it. Like it is. That's all we're here for. We're here for to live life. I mean, personally, I want to live life as long as I can. I always
yes.
joke. I have this weird. I don't know if fantasy is the right word, but like I love vampires
Oh
because they
yeah.
live forever.
They
And
live
I'm
forever.
like,
Oh, that's why.
that's why I'm like, I want to live forever, like that's kind of my thing. And I know that that's not reality. So that's okay.
But you
But
can give
what
yourself a good shot at it, you know?
exactly, like you can give yourself a good shot at living for a long time.
Yeah.
Alana's grandma just turned 101, I think in February.
Whoa. That's
And
crazy. It's
this
crazy.
woman's kicking like you would never know that she's that old. And that's really inspiring to see that. And so, like, just give yourself the best opportunity to live as long as you want as a person.
Yes.
Probably best.
And
Yes.
my nutritionist plug is going to be eating the diverse food is going to help you get there. That's
Yes.
something I learned through this process is about antioxidants, and I didn't realize how amazing and magical they are.
Oh, they are so great.
And literally, they are neutralizing all the electrically imbalanced compounds in your body that just happen naturally from your body metabolizing stuff. So when you're working out and you're eating, and just throughout your whole day, you're metabolizing cells and nutrition, all that stuff. So your
Hmm.
body is making all these charged compounds, and antioxidants are coming in and neutralizing them. So by doing
Wow.
that, you are decreasing your inflammation and your likelihood of chronic disease. So you want to,
Whoa.
yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know it was that entailed, but like, I mean, I eat, you open my freezer, I have like, I've told you about this, the giant containers of blueberries.
Ah,
I'm
right? I mean, those
constantly,
are perfect. Those are
I'm-
great. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
constantly eating just like frozen blueberries or, so it's like, that's
I
good.
love frozen blueberries.
So do
But
I.
yeah, so all the really colorful foods are going to be high in antioxidants.
Yep.
So thinking you are giving your body the things it needs to clean out the damage and to neutralize things
Mm,
is
that's really well said. I
I
like that.
also heard something else I want to share. I just like so excited to share because I like it was a light bulb moment for me.
Love it.
And it was your body is literally the result of what you eat. You are
Yes.
built by what you eat.
Yep.
And I was like, what? But yeah, I mean, how else would we be 3D printing this, this
Hmm.
system that's like upright? No, it's literally the food we put in is what is making up our tissues.
Yeah.
So,
And it's like, you kind of think about that and you're like, oh yeah, totally. I know that. But really, do you? Like,
yeah.
okay, listen,
Do you want to be made out of Cheetos? Like,
yeah, I'm not what I think all humans are beautiful in their own way. But like, well, I once had a coach tell me like, hey, if you want to create some goals for the way your body looks or feels, first of all, go stand in front of a mirror naked and then
mhm.
point out the spots that you want to fix. And he's like, secondly, journal when you wake up in the morning. Like when you first wake up in that morning, for the first 15 minutes, talk about how you feel.
Mm.
And he's like, that's a really good precursor to what you're eating, because your body is overnight, it's sleeping. That is like your recovery stage, right? Recovery from
Yeah.
everything you did throughout that day before. When you wake up in the morning, that's a good indication of like kind of where your body is performing and understanding that. Now that might be a little bit more on the athletic side or that, but like I think there's good value in being aware of how you feel in the most natural state, like without any screens in front of you, people, anything. Like how do I feel in that first 15 minutes of being awake? And that's something that I always, I used to journal it. I mentally journal it now. And I'm just like, okay, what do I need to do? And so it's a good little indication on how you're feeling and where you can create goals in your life.
Mm. I like that. Taking good
Yeah.
inventory.
Inventory. Oh, that's a better way of putting that.
Yeah.
So, all right, Sarah, we are at 40 minutes. We've done a lot of talking about your coaching and what you've been doing. Where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yes. I have a coaching Instagram handle. It's at It's Coach Sarah, and there's a period between each of the words.
Got it.
Yep.
That's the best way right there.
That's the best way. Yes.
Okay.
And I post
And
some interesting content. I'm
yes,
still,
I agree.
fresh in my creating of videos, so there's not a whole lot of content yet, but I've made some educational videos
Yeah,
that I
she does.
think is info that is super rad about the human body, and I try and break it down to a digestible point for people to understand, and then why it's important.
Yeah, no, I think you do a good job at keeping it very short, sweet, and to the point. And so if you're not following her, go follow her because there are some really good things on there. And I always tag you in the episodes. And so, if you're like, oh, I didn't catch that, go to Max Effort Kitchen, look at the tag. That's how you find her. I think that's all I got. This has been a great episode. Really good conversation. After my massive technological disaster, that's a bit overstated, but I had a little bit of technology. Yeah, I had some problems with technology first thing this morning. So thank you for being patient with me on that. And I hope you have a great day. Good luck at tomorrow when you're, out looking at the things you're looking at, and hope you guys have a great time.
Thanks. Same to you. Good luck today. And
it's right down the street. So we're very excited about this.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. So
very,
very big things. Anyways, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Sarah, for being on here. And this is an amazing show. I love this. And we will see you next time. That's all I got. Sarah, you got anything?
No, this was so fun. I loved it. Thanks for watching and listening.
All right. Adios, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.